all go a little mad sometimes.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
They're here.
Hi.
Hello there.
I was this close to being called Moonbeam or Moonchild or something. Ling, and I want to be in the sequel.
And I'm Nathan, and I would prefer Death by Stereo, because I don't want to be in the sequel.
You miss sucker. And you're listening to
They're
Here podcast.
A discussion
Disembowelment
of all things horror
Fear
and
and the macabre.
We've got to get an echo for that. I want an echo for that.
I like the kind of low budget moving away from the microphone.
B-movie, low
So
budget.
today we are talking about The Lost Boys 1987.
Directed
Just
by
off the jump, or directed by Joel Schumacher.
Batman Nipples.
Famous gay director, Joel Schumacher. Exactly, I was going to say the man responsible for Bat Nipples and Bat Butt Crack. Joel Schumacher, R.I.P. He only died last year, actually. I'm just going to jump in and say this is one of my favorite movies of literally all time. This is like one of the many things I inherited from my mother. This is also one of her favorite movies. I watched this movie, no joke, like non-stop as a child.
Yeah.
VHS tape was wore the fuck out.
How did I first see this film? I don't know if it's one of my favorite movies of all time, but definitely one of my favorite vampire movies of all time for sure. Next to, of course, Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula, because that's by means my all-time favorite Dracula film, or at least vampire film. This would be like a close second.
I'm the same book flip. This is my favorite vampire movie. Followed by Ford Coppola's Dracula.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where do you go from there? I mean, shit. It's only up from there, I guess. I just want to say, before we get into this, I only just found out the other day that this film, originally Joel Schumacher had more of an input with how this was going when it came to like the whole, like, how do I describe it? Like the style and the creation of it and all that kind of thing. So they originally had the idea where it was going to be more PG-ified, and they said that they wanted the storyline to be around, like, I think it was like 8 to 10-year-olds, and they wanted a whole kind of Peter Pan
Yeah, it was
feel.
supposed to be basically Goonies, but with vampires.
Yeah. And
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's supposed to basically be Peter Pan and Peter Pan as a vampire. But Joel Schumacher famously was a window dresser. Very that. So like apparently his kind of like creative process was like, how are these people gonna look? Like, which I think actually like completely shines through. The jackets are fucking iconic. I want Alex Winter's jacket in this so bad, even though he's like the little one. I think he has like the best outfit. It's the one with like all the patchwork all over it, and it's got like the medals and the embroidery and shit. I want it so bad.
Like I know they got like some zip ties, and you like those glow sticks as well, are like partially stuck to the yeah, totally get it. And again, like, we're continuing Pride Month, so like I really wanted to push for the Lost Boys. So in case y'all wondered, when you voted and I saw that Lost Boys was winning, I was like, yes, it's my time to shine. So it's
actually Pride Month, hetero. Calm down.
1 month a year, I think.
You know, don't ask why you don't need a Pride Month. Be thankful you don't need one. No, but seriously, gay people still get killed. But shout out to dead gay people.
In case you can't see, I'm rolling my eyes.
Wow, disrespect of a queer person by a straight person. Shocking. Homophobia for spring.
Homophobia
groundbreaking.
for spring. Groundbreaking.
Yeah, exactly. So Yeah, this movie kind of went through a lot of changes, a lot of development, and I think this is one of those movies that, like, to me, is like a perfect movie. I can't think of anything that I would like change or like shift around about this movie. Like, to me, this is kind of almost as close to a perfect movie as possible. And like, to be fair, I guess like a lot of that could come from nostalgia factor because I watched this movie so often as a kid. Like I can't even like literally just like hundreds of times. Like, I watched this movie like every fucking week, and like, oh my god, I had such a crush on Jason Patrick, and no joke, Corey Feldman when I was a kid, which is so gross because Corey Feldman is so gross looking. I don't even apologize for saying that, but yeah, this movie has actually like huge kind of queer themes, more so than I kind of remembered.
Yeah, I think we talked about this now when we were way back when in I can't remember what episode we were talking about it, but you, I, and a mutual friend of ours went to view this film in a kind of like a quote unquote midnight show.
Shout out
Lena, we love you. Fucking rock on. But we went to see this film, and I don't think I'd seen it in about maybe 3 years. So it's quite an extended period of time that I hadn't seen this film. And I remembered watching it, and I was like, wow, there's a lot of like, you know, subtext homoerotic kind of features going on here, and I was like, wow, holy shit.
And more so, like, not even exclusively just between David and Michael.
Yeah.
Sam is like very kind of I don't want to say like coded, but like very kind of like they're like, you wouldn't have to read too far into this movie to look at like a couple of characters being like faggy or anything. You know what I mean? But like that kind of, the whole kind of like seduction thing is like very classic vampire to me. It's very classic Dracula. The kind of relationship between Dracula and like Jonathan Harker and stuff like that. That was very kind of queer coded in a way. You know what I mean? More so than you kind of might have seen at the time. But with this movie, it's just a sexy movie. Yeah. It's just such a sexy movie. It's so good. And everybody in it is beautiful. You know what I mean? Everybody is like gorgeous.
Do we have a human chair of the week? Because I'm guessing there's more than one.
I actually have this question for you. So Nathan, who do you think is the hottest lost boy, and why is it Dwayne? Because my tastes have changed. Well, changed and like evolved. Originally, if you had asked me that question,
changed or evolved?
No, I would have originally said Jason Patrick, like as a child, just because he looks like fucking Jim Morrison. He's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And probably Marco. I used to think Alex Winter was really, really cute as a kid. But Dwayne, the long black hair, Death by Stereo. Oh my God, he's so beautiful in the face. Even as a vampire, like he's still like gorgeous. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm going to go with Dwayne. Nanook is my human chair of the week. Which I found out last night means polar bear and is like the name of like an Inuit bear god.
Oh, cool. Oh, I like that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Dwayne is my human chair of the week. But yeah, Dwayne is my human chair of the week.
Love it. Beautiful. I mean, Jim Morrison also does make an appearance. There's a huge poster of him in the bat layer that they have
in the hotel. Well, they juxtapose very intentionally when Michael is kind of going through his little change. Once he drinks the wine, they like superimposed Michael over that big poster Jim Morrison, like the famous Doors cover with the arms outstretched and stuff.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
The parallels are undeniable, though. It's the hair, the kind of like the cadence, all that kind of stuff is very, very Jim Morrison.
Yeah. I gotta appreciate it. This film. Really was. I don't want to say it's a rite of passage for people, but it's definitely one of those films that like you can't miss out on it, because if you do, you're really just not going in the right direction. You can't. if you don't watch this film, you really are missing out. You know what I mean? Because it's also quintessential 80s. You know, it's really like, if you want like something that just pinpoints like 80s, you get Tina Turner's fucking background saxophone player for 5 minutes on the boardwalk of Santa Carla, and just fucking, you know, get him going. You know, it's just really that.
This fucking sax player, oh my god, with the purple pants, with the studded belt, with the baby oil every place. Holy fuck, bro. That is what makes it so 80s. Not his costume, not his dress, but the fact that he's playing his saxophone. And he is lead vocal.
Yeah.
The lead singer of that band is playing a sax. That's so fucking 1987.
I love the fact that they're all like the crowd is all. It just sounds like why is this genre of music with a load of headbangers and mosh pits going on? Like,
there's a bunch of like metalheads and shit there. Like, you should be off listening to like Poison or something, or like Anthrax or something like that. You're out here listening to like
that, yeah,
exactly. You're out here listening to some like nouveau jazz and shit like that. Like, grow up. But like the crowd at this, like, and that's the thing, right? I know, like, usually we kind of jump around and stuff like this, but like I like, all my notes are like sequential. Like, we're not gonna go through like scene by scene or anything like that, but like, damn, if I jump all over this movie, I'm just gonna talk for weeks, and you guys are never gonna hear the end of it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree.
So we get to Santa Carla, and the opening of this movie, where we're kind of, it's like a panning shot out over the ocean, and we get to like the funfair and stuff, and where we're introduced to our quote unquote lost boys. Just this whole kind of opening, like right up until we meet Lucy, Sam, and Michael. It's just so cool. Again, like, this is just like one of like the coolest movies like of all time, you know, like the kind of opening montage of Santa Carla, played by real life Santa Monica. They were told they could film there if they changed the name, because they dubbed this the murder capital of the world.
Yeah.
But this montage, oh my god, it's so good, with Echo and the Bunnymen's cover of The Doors' People Are Strange, which I actually prefer, again, because it's the version I grew up with. This montage just shows like such an array of like freaks and like cholos, and like it's just so good. It's so good. And it's like, it was kind of the first time I remember being like, oh my god, California is kind of like gross. What the fuck?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, you get like you get freaks with like huge mohawks, you know, you get mullets, heavy studded leather, plaid during the day, you know. Who the fuck wears plaid at night?
Eating out of garbage.
And then you're one like fucking making out with a rat. Did you see that? I caught that and I was like, wait,
she's
what?
Kissing him. Yeah,
she was not. There was tongue. There was tongue, bitch.
It's cute. Rats are clean.
Yeah, rats are great, but like, I wouldn't fucking make out with it. Janice Ian making out with a hot dog. Girl.
That was one time.
Janice Ian Dyke.
So there's a couple of things that I kind of, probably glaringly obvious things, but there's a couple of things that I like picked up on, that I like put together for myself. So once we kind of like get established, we get to Grandpa's house, right? And I want this house so bad.
So do I.
It's like a wooden mansion filled with taxidermy. Yeah. And like in the comic books, right, it's actually kind of discussed. I'm obsessed with the whole lore and expanded lore of The Lost Boys. Just because like with this particular franchise, I wanted everything I could get from it. So I wanted even the god-awful sequels, which I own the box set of. And some of the comic books that are very kind of hit and miss, it's kind of told to us in the comics that Grandpa eventually becomes like a half vampire. That's why he has like all of these animals, because he only eats animal blood or whatever like that. So he's just like, when I'm done with them, I sell them on and taxidermy them, you know. I love that like little idea. But they walk in and they call it out. They say like, oh, this is a great house. Yeah, maybe for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yes.
And then they walk in on his taxidermy room where there's all these like half-boiled carcasses and like skulls and like partially skinned
Horns.
things. I love it.
It's
And I find
really
out Grandpa's
great.
a little stoner. He's like growing his own little stash or whatever at the back.
Yeah. We also get like that one like little like extended little shot of Michael and Sam just like their heads are a little too close together for someone's liking, and then he nuzzles himself into it. You're like, yeah, okay. Oh, one thing I actually also
love their
spotted
dynamic
out
in this
was
movie.
when they arrive at the car, Michael is suddenly on his dirt bike, trailing them. The one thing that really kind of irked me about that was, number one, I'm a biker, so I can identify with people in this movie. Thank you very much. And he's driving behind the car, so all of the dust being driven up from the back of the car is going directly into his face. And I was like, why the fuck would you do that? It's so stupid.
It looks cool. It sets him apart from the family. He's a grown-up and an outcast. Well, speaking of grown-ups, the ages of all these people in these movies are very kind of vague, because like Sam sometimes acts like a 12-year-old and then sometimes acts like more mature.
Yeah.
I gather that Sam is like 14, or is supposed to be like 14 in this movie. And now Corey Haim was about 14, 15 when they were filming this, was about 16 when they released. But with Michael, it was always kind of harder to get a read on him, because she's talking about like Lucy's talking about like, oh, like when it's back to school, all this kind of shit, like it's all gonna change. And I was like, does she mean like college or like high school? Because like Jason Patrick has a whole body of hair. Like that's a grown man right there. He's not a senior in high school or nothing.
Yeah, I gather he's like, at least from what I can see without anyone telling me his age, I would have gathered he was in his mid-20s, at least, at the earliest, you know?
I would say like at the earliest like 19, at the most early. But like, yeah. And like I gather that he like versus like the rest of our quote unquote Lost Boys like would be like very definitely like the youngest.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I also like the fact that when they passed that you know, Grandpa from Santa Carla, that they were it turns around on the billboard, it says murder capital of the world, and I just absolutely I think that's so fucking cool, because like when you get like back down to the boardwalk and all of that type of thing, you get all these missing posters, or at least shots of missing posters and stuff.
All these missing children, of all these lost boys and girls.
Get it? Another Peter Pan reference there, right directly in the title, The Lost Boys, literally a Peter Pan reference. And yeah, you just get this sense that like there's so much and I think even the Frog Brothers like pointed out like toward the end of the film that there's like, we firmly believe something like werewolves and ghouls like have high places in like town council or something like that. Like
which
they just said it in passing fancy. So to me it's like when they you know, like all these children are going missing and everyone's going missing, and like it's sort of being hushed up. Do you know what I mean? Like a very kind of Pennywise, you know, power over dairy type of thing, where like he's covering it up. You know what I mean?
Well, all these things do become canon. I think it's actually the third movie, The Thirst, where they make like blood into like a drug. Like vampirism is like part of like the rave scene or whatever. They're terrible, but like the stories are fun, but they should have been made better, or just not ever made at all. I'll actually speak about the Lost sequel kind of towards the end, because the Lost sequel to this movie seems like it was literally made for me. But we'll get to that when we get to that, right? But werewolves and all that kind of stuff become canon in this universe, like in the third movie. Like we get to like see one, which is like fucking lame or whatever. But yeah, the like setup, we get to kind of see at the start Lucy is the mother played by Diane Wiest, right? And this is my reference for her. Like if I ever seen her in anything else when I was a kid, I was like, oh, it's the mom from The Lost Boys. She's kind of like telling Sam, she sees like a bunch of kids like eating out of like the garbage or whatever, and she's like, go tell those kids to get some food. And we kind of see this as a theme throughout this movie, that she's like very, very caring. And I'll get us like to the next piece. that night, everybody kind of goes down to the boardwalk, and this is like where that like oiled up concert is happening. Sam and Michael are holding hands because like he's like leading him along.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like another reason why I was like, is Sam supposed to be like a child? Because he's wearing fashions, like he's wearing like a trench coat. Sam is, I think, like the most 80s looking out of anybody in this movie.
Yeah.
He's got like big shoulder pads, like Southwest style, like neon
hair,
shirts, all this kind of shit.
that
The hair with the little earring, with just the one stud. Also, Sam and Michael are both wearing one earring in this movie. Very gay. But we kind of like, our first hint at Lost Boys is Lucy sees like on the boardwalk that the video store is hiring, and she sees a child. She actually sees a mother first hanging up another missing poster, and then she sees a child on the boardwalk and comes in and is like, "Can you help this lost boy?" And I was like, oh, roll credits. She said the title. She said it right there. But I noticed that Max kind of like takes notice of this. They show him like, I could use her. You know?
I love that video store. That like everything, like those plastic, like, you know, neon colored sheets that hang down from the ceiling, and all the like old cardboard movie posters. It takes me back to my childhood. You know,
the adult section. There's a full porn section in that. Yeah.
Loved it. Beautiful.
Also, just a little bit of like horror trivia. I don't know if you knew this. The girl in the background, who in one scene, when Lucy's on the phone to Sam, in one scene is just eye fucking the camera from behind. She like is getting her scene. She is, what's her name? I think she's one of the chicks from Nightmare 5. She's like one of the main characters in that. Ooh. That's like one of her only other acting credits is like
I fucking the camera.
Yeah. No, seriously, it's a scene where Lucy's on the phone to Sam. I think it's when Sam is like it just comes like straight out with it and tries to talk about vampires, whatever like that. She's on like Lucy's on the phone and this girl is in the background like. But no, I love this. So we kind of get like a cute little like interaction between Max and whatever like that, and then we get the boys. We get our boys.
The boys.
They walk in. He's like, "I thought I told you never to come by here again," and they all kind of have this like, "Yeah, whatever." Like, and this is where we get kind of like our first like good look at everybody.
Yeah.
You know,
we have I'm after forgetting his name now. Of course, that's just really, really bad. We have Kiefer Sutherland, who plays, you know, the main vampire. He plays David, the blonde, pure blonde, mullet wearing, long
white
black
gorgeous
trench coat, leather pants. You know, he's the cool dude. He's very clearly the alpha of the situation. And then the rest of them are just sort of the background dancers, you know? They all look the same.
You lie. They don't look the same. David is the most boring looking one. So we have Brooke Carter as Paul, who has some of the most gorgeous hair. Paul is the tall blonde one. You have Alex Winter. We have Alex Winter playing Marco with the better jacket and the little crimpy mullet. And then we have Billy Wirth as Dwayne, who is he's just so gorgeous. He's the really beautiful looking one. But originally, David was supposed to be more similar looking to the rest of the guys, which I actually think was a mistake on Joel Schumacher's part. It was Kiefer Sutherland who decided to, after the hair was bleached and all that kind of stuff, he decided to cut a bunch of his hair off into the mullet, which I think is better. It kind of sets him aside from the other three and makes him more visually interesting looking. Well, not more visually interesting looking, but it makes him stand out. So you kind of like know to look at him as like the leader. It's like a distinction, you know. But yeah. I love it. It like, I think he said that he like credits himself as like kind of being partially responsible for the mullet trend, which I can see.
I agree with you. It does set him apart because like when it comes to him, like his look is very kind of, I don't want to say classic silhouette of Dracula, but just very like dark and brooding, vampire stereotype. Do you know what I mean?
His jacket looks like a cape.
Yes, and like he also, because of the way he acts less erratic than the other of his pack. He sort of comes across as the more mature or sort of older of the four of them. Does that make sense? Like he's like, he comes across as much older in age than the other three. Like he's lived longer than the other three have. Does that make sense? You know, and that's why I think also it's the same with that's why I think they have the same like sort of connection between David and Max. Like why Star said that David was protecting, the secret he was protecting was Max. Do you know what I mean? It made it sort of feel like the other three might not know everything that's going on. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, exactly, and like a lot of that kind of like hasn't been explained or kind of further explored. But in the book, I think it's called Into the Shadows, the kind of like making of behind the scenes book for The Lost Boys that came out a couple of years ago, there was a end credits scene that was supposed to be filmed, but they never even made props for it, so it was never even shot. It was just in the script. We were supposed to see at the very end a couple of the surf Nazis that might have survived or whatever like that, and a couple of other like kids or whatever, kind of get up into the hotel and they find like a mural, very The Shining actually. There's like a picture of and it zooms in and it's Santa Carla like circa like 1900 or whatever, and we see Max on the boardwalk just kind of like recruiting or whatever like that, which I love the idea that he's just like been here in Northern California for the last like 100 years or so, kind of recruiting, you know, because I always got the sense that it's like these aren't his first set of boys, you know. Like this has happened before, and yeah, like you said, I always kind of gathered that David was kind of a recruiter in a way, you know what I mean, like that like these boys he's been with, he might not have been with these for that long. You know, it seemed like they're of this time, whereas like David seems a little bit more like earlier, you know. He's very much so the leader.
And I also think like the boys that you do see, like the quote unquote younger Lost Boys, they also seem like they're very much a product of the times. So like I would say they, like, because of the way they're dressed, the longer hair, the style of clothing that they have is very much symbolic of the eras that they were living in. So like I would say from like the 70s onwards, because I wouldn't say like because of how they act that they were any older than that. Do you know what I mean? So like they could,
you know, they're very much so like kind of prototypical like punk like metalheads. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they were very
much.
Like
David's style, like you said, is kind of more so classic vampire. Like it's a cape. It could kind of be from anywhere.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's so great that it's juxtaposed against Max, because Max comes across as very charming and very like just very nice. Do you know what I mean? So you let your guard down with him, and I love that interaction between Lucy the mother and Max. I think the first interaction that they have is very cute, and he almost immediately disarms her with his charm, you know. So he's very much that kind of like, oh, come up and fuck me in the ass sometime. How about it? You know?
Well, for real, it's like, it is very classic vampire in that way, that it's like vampires always have, and we'll get to the scene with the takeaway and stuff like that, where it's like vampires have always had like the ability to kind of like throw a glamour or to like indulge somebody in like a way, you know what I mean, to like seduce somebody, kind of get what they want, you know. And I think it's called like holding somebody like in thrall, you know, where it's like I can like do whatever you want, you know what I mean, and you throw the cape over them and then the scene ends. But I love their interaction where he's like hooligans and she's like, we were young once, you know, except they dress better. You know, I love it. Her in this movie.
I know how that feels.
It's weird when you think about it that, like, this whole movie is in motivation for Max to get her. Yes. Everything is because Max wants her specifically.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't give a shit about Michael or Sam. they're just, if he can get them, then he gets her.
Yeah.
You know, I love that.
Yeah.
Like, nobody else in between is actually important. It's all about Lucy. Lucy, is that also a Dracula reference?
I'd say so. I don't see why it shouldn't be. I mean, you could point it to other things, but for sure. No, she's very charming, and you do get that sense that she is, well, I mean, she is the mother figure, but she is that, like, wholeheartedly caring, wanting to help the whole time. You get those interactions between, like, she lets Sam stay in her bed if he's scared, the closet monster, and then you
I have that note, which also is another kind of queer kind of element in this movie.
I got that.
She divorced Sam's father because he, quote, never believed in the closet monster. Does this make Diane Wiest, Lucy in this movie, an ally?
I think it does.
Is her name an ally?
I think it does. You know, she definitely has that love, and that scene where Michael comes back as well with the glasses on. He's like, "Take off your glasses, you balding bitch! Take off your glasses." Yeah, I love that. I really do.
I know, I love it though. Are we friends?
Let's act like friends. Let's talk. We can talk about anything.
Oh,
if it's about a girl. No, it's about a gay vampire that
it's something I
wants
wouldn't
me,
understand.
Oh my god. Yeah, I love it. I do. This is my favorite movie. I like it.
So for us, David and Star, I always got that, like, David and Star were, like, a thing, or, like, an item, but, like, they aren't in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I think he is kind of, I don't want to say, like, pimping her out, but we kind of get that he's kind of, like, no, but it doesn't seem like they have, like, an actual, like, exclusive relationship together. It just kind of seems that she's, like, the newer recruit, and he's kind of, like, dangling her in front of Michael to kind of get him to, like, come along or whatever.
Yeah.
Come
along.
God damn it! Just fucking bad. Excuse me, my body.
Come along, hey, come along. Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, it always kind of seems that way, and then we kind of get like, oh wait, before we move on, can we just mention the soundtrack?
Yes.
Oh my god, the soundtrack for this movie is so good.
Let's gosh.
Kind of no more than when we get here on our on the bike ride where they're like flying down the beach with a "Say Hello Tonight." It's so good.
Yeah. I love the.
And it kind of gets to the corner of this bluff where they basically try and get David. And I feel like this is very much so something that has happened before. Michael is not the first person that they've done this to. And I think that the reason that they continue on with Michael is that Michael stands up to David and punches him in the face. I think had he not done that,
they would have eaten
and
him.
had David not gotten so hard, full mass after that, they wouldn't have recruited him.
Yeah, I do got a very. Let's just really point this out. Actually, sorry, no, you talk about the center for a sec. Cry Little Sister. Oh my god, that song was ingrained in my head for so long, and when I heard that being played super loud on those jumbo stereo for that vampire screening that we went to during I think it was the Bram Stoker Festival, was it? And I was
Bram Stoker Festival,
yes!
2020.
No, it would have been 2019.
That's gonna be one of the clips. I have footage from that night. I'll post that up on the Instagram. I actually have the Death by Stereo scene recorded from that night, so that'll go up. Yeah.
Oh, guys, it was amazing that night. What did we do? We just got down. We got a few cute drinks. Sat down in the freezing cold with a few.
Was that an IT Crowd reference?
No, it wasn't. Because I don't watch that shit.
Fuck you.
Yeah. It was great.
Said cute. I got excited there.
I loved it.
I was dressed as David.
I still have pictures of that. Oh my god. I'm putting that up as well.
Same, I found them last night. Yeah, I shaved off my brows, got yellow and red contacts. Got those little fangs that you those little clip-in fangs, but because the vampires in this movie don't have them on the canines, they have one like the like small little incisors, those
Yeah.
right next to your two front teeth. I just had to wedge those up into my gum so that they stayed. I know, but it was worth it. It looked great. But I was also sweating, which is an issue I wondered how they didn't have on set, was the fact that they're filming in Northern California and Kiefer Sutherland is wearing a black t-shirt with a leather jacket over it, with a trench coat over that, with black leather gloves, with full-length trousers and boots.
Yeah.
How are you living? I would get sick. I would throw up.
But also, the Santa Monica, like, that whole strip, I gotta say, like, every time I seen that on, I was just like, oh my god, I want to go to a fairground. I want to go back on those fucking, like, you know, the ones that you're spinning around, but you're also spinning around on the
waltzers.
The waltzers.
Yeah.
Like, every time I've seen any types of those, the one where you're, like, just standing and the gravity is holding you back as you're twisting around. Love those things. And, like, the Terminator and stuff. It just reminded me of all of that. You know, like, the summer festivals in our town that we have. Oh, I miss them
God,
so
I had
much.
PTSD for the Terminator. Sick. I went on that one time and was humiliated. I went on it one time after getting my face painted like the Joker.
Wow.
And I know, but I hated the job that the person painting my face did it because they made it really clean. I looked like John Wayne Gacy. I looked like that clown. And then I had to like go into the bathroom of the courtyard and like smush it up and make it gross. Yeah, I was like, I look disgusting. But then I got on. For anybody that isn't from Leak Slope, the Terminator is like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like that, like, how would you even describe it? It's like a ride that like rotates you up in the air, but like flat against a wall.
Yeah. You're just
it's
going
like a
around
really
in
long
a circle.
bench that just like rotates you. Yeah, exactly. But like, you don't think it's going to be super scary, and then you get on it in front of your whole town, and I looked like I was going to like cry or something. I looked like I was about to scream.
God, I miss Normality. Can't wait for that. You remember that? Normality? That was great. I love that.
The Leak Slope Festival hasn't been good for years.
Yeah, it sort of died out quite a long time ago. Anyway, back on track.
Fuck Leak Slope.
That's why you moved away, bitch.
You're in Leak Slope right now, loser.
Yeah, only because I have to be. Okay, so, anyway, once we're finished gushing all over the soundtrack, because it's fucking amazing, I love this soundtrack, and yeah, fuck anyone who doesn't think the soundtrack should be good.
Okay, so we get to the second best set of the movie, which is their, like, the boys' hangout.
I love
which
this
is like
place.
an old hotel that got like swallowed into the side of the cliffs by like a huge earthquake in like 1920 or whatever like that. As a kid, this is where I wanted to live in this movie.
Yes.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah.
With like all the, and like these people are horror fans. They got like Monsters posters and like Dracula references and like Jim Morrison on the wall. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, I really, when I was younger, or even now, like, because everyone had this craze of, like, building their own quote-unquote den, like, somewhere for friends to, like, meet up and stuff, and I looked at this place and I was like, this is it. This is the quintessential version of a den that we would have wanted when we were younger, when we wanted just some place that we could go, hide away from the adults, and do drugs, and get drunk. It was great.
Yeah, for real. And like, so this is where we get kind of like another exploration of like the vampire mythos kind of lore, because this is one of the movies, like, it was actually very kind of popular in the 80s to make vampires kind of campy. It only kind of seems to be like Lost Boys and Fright Night that seems to kind of like start to like round vampires back to being like actual like horrific like monsters,
killers,
as well as being sexy. It's like the sexy is supposed to be the trap.
Yes.
You know what I mean? The sexy is supposed to get you close enough so that they can bite you. So yeah, kind of like by this time in cinema, vampires had become campy or not scary anymore, you know, because we're like, what, like 50 years out from Dracula.
Yeah.
You know, it's like by this time the vampire genre had kind of been explored and kind of done to death, but like this was like a vampire movie for the MTV generation, and I mean like first wave MTV generation. And this made vampires like cool again. I always say like this is like the like what like anytime I would like explain like the craft, I'm like the craft is to witches what the Lost Boys is to vampires. It's like the cool, young, sexy like version, you know, but like it's actually scary. Like these vampires will rip your fucking throat out. Like they're gonna peel your fucking scalp off, which we'll get to when we meet the surf Nazis.
Yeah. No, I totally
kind
agree.
Of get this is like an exploration. Sorry, go ahead.
No, they were really, really great. I really remember, like, I think that's why I remember these guys more vividly than I do any type of Dracula film that came before, apart from I think maybe a Christopher Lee Dracula during the Hammer horror period. But these types of vampires, they're very much like predatorial. They're very much like they are hunters. They're finding their prey. They are sniffing it out, finding out what they really like about it, and they go for the jugular. They don't just like bite at your throat anymore. They rip it off. They, you know, one surfer Nazi like gets his head torn off, and then there's like some guy who gets his full scalp,
we get a scalp.
Like, ripped. Yeah,
we get a brain reveal. It's great.
I just love it because it turns the vampire back into like, oh shit, like these guys are fucking scary, you know what I mean? Like they made you afraid of them again, you know?
Yeah, I feel like almost exclusively up to this point, and again, this may be like the sign of the times or whatever like that, almost exclusively up until this point, I always registered vampires as kind of campy, even the original Dracula, you know, up to even Christopher Lee in the Hammer horror movies. It's still very very theater, it's very kind of theatrical, but with this it's like they made vampires like ferocious, like monsters, like fierce, right? And actually kind of thinking about it, like they're feeding very regularly and feeding on children. Like they're just snatching children, which I think again just kind of adds like a more kind of sinister element to them, that they're not just like fuck you about shit, like they're actually evil, you know?
And I think that's another thing about, you know, that whole kind of flying sequence that like you never see them, which I know was actually a budgetary reason as to rather than an aesthetic reason that they chose to do that. But I think in the long term it actually worked. Like really
I'm glad.
well.
I'm glad we only see like characters in shot flying like maybe 3 or 4 times in this movie. And I think any more than that it could have looked bad.
That kind of that bat sound, that while they're flying, it's really frightening.
There's a scene. I'm not sure if it's the first. I always get it mixed up whether it's this or the security. I think it's the security guard is killed first. I think he's our first on-screen kill. Where we kind of it's almost like flapping. You know what I mean? Like it kind of gives you like the idea of like their jacket is like blowing in the wind or whatever. But the attack on the couple, I'll get to like what we were talking about in a sec. But the attack on the couple always kind of like, I don't know why, but I always felt really, really bad for that girl, because like she gets killed at the start. Like they're actually like the first people that we see the boys interact with on the carousel. They kind of like touch her hair or whatever like that, and her boyfriend is an asshole. We actually see her boyfriend a couple of times in this movie. We see him like snatch comics out of the Frog Brothers like stall or whatever like that. But I'm like, they kill her because her boyfriend was a dick, which is like really sad. But they're like making out in their car or whatever, and they hear like a scratch on the roof or whatever like that, and then the roof just gets tore off, and they pull him up straight away. But then she's like, I don't know why. Even as a kid, I was like, that's really sad, because she's like cowering. She's like makes herself really little and stuff like that, like an animal being hunted. You know what I mean? And then she just gets snatched up into the air. But we hear her screaming, and then like a break in her screaming, and I'm like, what did they do to her off screen? It made me think that like as a kid, it made me think that they just like broke her in half or something, like something super visceral like that, you know?
I do. I love it.
But we get to the scene. We get to the kind of it's just fabulous. So we get to the cave.
I love
the
that.
old hotel.
Only you could turn around and say, "Oh, I love the gore. It's just fabulous." Only we could turn around and say that. Like, who the fuck else would say gore is fabulous?
Well, it's what I came here for. It's why I came here. But this cave, we kind of get, Michael is kind of going along with it. They like give him like a little bit of weed to like kind of like mellow him out or whatever like that, and then they like get food, I guess. And David is kind of like, again, throwing a glamour to kind of get Michael to kind of break down his defenses, I guess, and to kind of make him like mentally vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because he's giving him the rice, and he's like, "How are those maggots, Michael?" And like he looks down and they're maggots, and he throws them away. And then he's like, "You want some noodles?" And he's like, "They're worms." And then, like, kind of by that point, Michael is kind of like over it. He's like, "Yeah, whatever." And then they give him the bottle, which is not blood. That is way too thin and way too see-through to be blood. It's literally Ribena or like red wine or something like that. And then he goes to drink it, and Sarah's like, "No, don't drink it. It's blood." And he's like, "Yeah, as if," and then drinks it anyway.
Yeah.
And then kind of continues to drink it. And that's where we get like, just like, it's so good. Like the montage of, like David, like, or Michael standing there, and then like the juxtaposition of like Jim Morrison over the front, and then he's kind of floating.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then he just ends up in bed. We see him just fall into bed, you know? If I had a dime.
I love the way, again, like, this may just be to the fact that they're, like, those two brothers, Sam and Michael, are really, really close to these, but I love the kind of juxtaposition between the two, like, the kind of faith that they have each other and all that kind of thing is just, like, it's really sweet. I mean, I guess you could state the homoerotic subtext of it, but the faith that they have in each other is very much, like, that's a very tight brotherly bond as well, you know, like they know no matter what, like each of them have each other's back and all of that kind of thing. I really appreciate that bond, you know what I mean? Even though it might be seen as one thing and actually be another, but I really appreciate the way they look out for each other and how quickly Sam is to kind of like, he realizes there's a turn being him turning into a vampire, but he's very quickly to jump back to like, what are we going to do to fix the issue? What are we going to do to find out what the problem is and how to deal with it? You know what I mean?
Well, I think we spoke about this in our Jeepers Creepers episode, which is our most viewed episode to date. I mean, and I think, like, I spoke about, and I know you agreed with me, I love when there's a sibling dynamic in a horror movie versus it being, like, exclusively, like, a romantic lead or whatever like that. Because, like, Star is in this movie, but, like, and again, when I was younger, I thought David was between Star and Michael, but now I know that it's Star between Michael and David. Like, Star is in David's way of getting to Michael. You know what I mean? If she wasn't there, like, whatever.
Yeah.
But no, there's a line a couple of scenes on from now where it's when Michael starts to float and he like gets at the window and stuff, and he's like, "You're a vampire, like, you're a monster, you're a goddamn shit-sucking vampire." Wait until I tell Mom. But he's saying he's all these things, and he's like, "I'm your brother," and then that kind of makes Sam like and like lets him in, you know. And I love like their dynamic in this movie is like really, really sweet, you know. Like they're both willing to completely risk each other's lives for each other, and that's kind of shown like a bunch of times in this movie, you know. And I always really, really enjoy that dynamic. So, but also Sam calls him out. This is another kind of moment that I thought was like kind of gay. Sam calls him out. He says, "You've been throwing way too much attitude lately. Are you watching too much Dynasty?" Which basically is like, "Listen, fag, I know you've been watching Crystal Carrington and Alexis, okay? Put the Dynasty down, darling, okay?"
I know what you've been using that cucumber in your room for, okay?
I'm fully imagining Michael having like Octavia Saint Laurent from Paris is Burning, her talking about Dynasty. These people have 16, 17 bedrooms in their house. You know what I mean? I want wealth. You know, I'm fully picturing Michael being there. I look at her hair and I see wicked beauty. I look at her hair and I see devilish. You know?
Or Miss LaBeija. Miss LaBeija. Where is she? I will sue the bitch.
Okay, so basically Lucy and Max are like trying to get together and like failing miserably just because every time something comes up, right?
And the sexual innuendos, darling.
Get your mind out of the gutter, you whore. But
strictly word of mouth, darling.
And she goes over the next day, and this is kind of like where we're getting our first hint that something might be going on with Max. And they actually do a very good job of like making him the red herring and then completely making you not think he's the red herring.
Yeah.
Only for it to be switched, you know. And like this is another thing I never kind of, I don't know why I didn't realize this, but like she goes to apologize the next day for like running out on him because he sees her. He's like sitting in the restaurant and he like looks out and she's literally like, she's literally like flailing her way across the parking lot and just drives out. But she goes over to like leave a bottle of wine or whatever like that. She's like, you know, I better just run this up to the house or else somebody's just gonna take it. And she like brings it up. And Thorn, like his dog, his white like Alsatian, gorgeous dog, just like freaks out and starts attacking her. And as a kid I never understood why, and then like later on being like,
of course
it's because Max is asleep. That's crazy. And that's why he only works like night shift. They really do like throw you on his trail, and then that's where we kind of get like further exploration with like the Frog Brothers and stuff like that. But like we haven't even mentioned them yet.
But also
the two like supporting characters in this movie.
I love
Edgar and Alan Frog. What great names! Played by Corey Feldman and Jameson Newlander. Poor Jameson Newlander, Alan Frog gets nothing in this movie. He's just the other Frog brother.
I love their parents. You know, the parents like sitting at the
John and Yoko.
Like sitting in the background, like literally just slumped against each other.
In every scene that they're in, every scene that we see the Frog Brothers in, their mom and dad are just sitting at the back with like an incense lighting and a TV that's turned off, asleep next to each other or on top of each other,
quote unquote asleep with sunglasses on. Yeah. I love it. I love the stoner culture.
Sunglasses at night, darling. What are you smoking? Inquiring minds want to know.
Please tell us. But also that is actually
there's even a scene where Sam asks Michael, "Is he freebasing? Are you smoking cocaine out of a light bulb, Michael? Are you smoking cracked rocks?"
Like when you were talking about like the red herring, making Max a red herring, then not making him, then making him again, then not making him very clearly, and then he reveals himself. Well, surprise! You're that the whole time. The one thing that really kind of like made it obvious to me was when nothing was being said, but when Michael opens the door to, I think he's going to see Michael,
you're
David
invited.
And he goes like, well, you're the man of the house and I'm not coming in until you invite me. And he goes, you're invited. And then like, to me, I was like, but no normal person does that. So like, of course he's a vampire, you know?
But then right after they have this scene that like they test out like three of classic ways to find out if somebody is or isn't a vampire. The one thing I didn't understand, because they even say later in the movie, they're like, God, it doesn't work, boys. And they're like, how about holy water? And they throw him in. And I'm like, okay, he gets away with the garlic and the not glowing and the not smelling bad or anything like that. How did he do the mirror? Or I'm like, was that also a glamour? Because they put a mirror in his face and he has a reflection.
I tend to think it's because Michael allowed him in. He was invited in. It renders... Because he says at the end, never invite a vampire into your home. It renders you powerless. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I always read that as... Like, now I can just come in whenever I want to. I didn't register that as like, oh, now none of the classic vampire things work on me. Yeah. But evidently that's kind of what it is, I guess.
Yeah, I always just took it at that. It's always kind of explained it. Like, I always think of, Let the Right One In, and that little girl when when the little kid says, I don't need to invite you in, I'm just gonna take you in, and then like immediately like she gets the cold sweats and she starts bleeding from like literally every orifice, and like that's the whole thing. Don't get ideas.
That's looking to be me on the 28th. Happy Pride Month.
So bitch, get into it. But yeah, that's how I always took it. Like when you invite the vampire in, that's it. You're doomed. Like nothing is going to work from that moment on. You know what I mean? That's how I always took it anyway, you know?
And also, like, I love that, like, that's how the rest of the boys end up coming in.
Oh, yeah.
The end. Is that, like, their master has been invited in so they can come in.
Yeah.
But they also don't come in through the door. Yeah. I think Dwayne was the first one to break in, and he comes in through the
fireplace.
Through the fireplace and just breaks right in. Oh, God. The ending to this movie is just, it's so good. We'll get there. So, after this scene, Michael kind of, like, leaves and, like, doesn't stay for dinner.
Like Rabbi Tuckman. You're jumping! Oh, you're jumping! Let's jump to the Holocaust! You're jumping! Okay, we'll jump. Yeah.
Oi, vampires!
It was such a shanda! Well, we're gonna get called for this.
Using all my no, I'm not even gonna go there. I'm gonna leave it.
Oh my God.
There's enough. The michigas of it all. Okay, no, we'll leave it there. So, in a bad case of irony, the next scene we're introduced to are the surf Nazis. So Michael basically is like, all right, I'm like, fuck off, mom. I'm going out. I'm going. I'm going to see my boyfriend's mom. But anyway. He goes out, and up until now we haven't seen the boys kind of. It's one girl and 4 boys.
Oh my God!
But
my cheeks hurt.
And we all wear leather, and one little boy. So.
Oh my God.
This is kind of like where we're finally getting to see the boys as monsters. Where we get to this scene on the beach where I'm literally like looking at the old VHS cover. That's like one of the things on the back is all the boys standing by the tree with the like backlit. And I think this is my favorite scene in the movie. We get to see we get to see surf Nazis who are. Did the middle of my sentence interrupt the start of yours? But for real, this is like where we get to see like the effects and like the creature effects like in full force. And this is kind of the first like major like horror scene where we actually get to see like monstrosity going on. So they kind of rock up to the beach. Michael up until this point has kind of been struggling with like pain, all this kind of stuff like that, or like hunger, like the classic kind of thing. He's been coming home very late at night. He's been wearing leather and one earring. So they bring him to this tree, which is like this random tree that's like in the middle of the beach, and these quote unquote surf Nazis are listening to Run DMC, which makes you not very
love
Nazi-ish at all. Also I'm not sure like what the crack is with this name, because the movie Surf Nazis Must Die came out the same year and the same month. It came out like 3 weeks before this, because I always registered that these being called surf Nazis was a reference to Surf Nazis Must Die.
Yeah,
but it couldn't have been. They came out literally like 2 weeks apart.
Wow.
But anyway, the surf Nazis are kind of the guys that we've seen to kind of be like the, I guess, like kind of rival gang, kind of opposing clique to our Lost Boys or whatever. And the couple that were snatched up earlier were part of the surf Nazis.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of like getting wrecked on the beach, and this is where like David is giving Michael the like, you're one of us, Michael, like the kind of this speech that comes in every movie like this, you know.
Yeah, he says that,
and then
we get
he turns away. He looks away into the door. Good.
He says that they, like, you've done the initiation. It's time to join the club, and then he's like, nah.
Yeah, he turns away into the dark and then turns back and has that like, and like that reveal is so good and it's scary.
Yeah.
Like as much as I used to love this movie as a kid, this scene was like, it's such good nightmare fuel. Turns around and like the teeth are like right beside the two front teeth, and like it's more kind of subtle, I feel, on David than we see further on in the movie.
Yeah.
But this scene, talk about fabulous gore. We see the boys like in their element. No, but it is. I love kind of how like brutal and like vicious they are in this scene.
Yeah.
We get them like just like throwing their hair around and they're like covered in blood and like they're laughing and literally just like pulling these people apart. Like we said earlier, there's a scene like one of them gets like bitten right into the head, and then we see like a scalp get pulled off, and they're literally just ripping these dudes apart and just throwing them on the fire, and still just like partying. Like this is a party to them.
Yeah.
Like those guys were drinking, but like these vampires are also drinking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like the same thing, the vampire equivalent. And I love how like fucking punk it is to just see them like just living for it.
Yeah.
Now that used to be one of my backgrounds was seeing Paul, like the other blonde one, like with the big hair. There's a part where he just like rips something out and then it's just like like he's just throwing hair around. It's so good.
And I really I think this scene is incredibly influential, like not just with the acting but like how it's shot. Please excuse me, my throat is really dry all of a sudden. With the music score by Thomas Newman.
That's suspicious.
No, it's not.
That's weird.
But the cinematographer, Michael Chapman, when he made this, like, I think it's just absolutely beautiful. Like, first of all, the silhouettes that they create once they come back up off the beach, standing by that tree, like, over Michael, who is, like, falling down the hill or whatever. And, like, that's, like, now you know what we are, now you know what you are, and blah, 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 you can't fight it, and blah, blah, blah. But I really do. And I love the fact that when they throw the bodies onto the flames, you get these, like, bursts of, like, blue flame, like, just shooting up out of the fire. It's so fucking cool. And I love it. And I love the fact that that, like I said earlier, they're not just the vampire that would, like, you know, chomp on your neck, a few drips of blood, and then that's it. They're
fucking animals.
They're like a pack of hyenas, like, just ripping these people apart. And like,
I actually have that note that I got very big hyena vibes of the three other guys, because there's a couple of scenes. It's actually near the end where just after Michael and Sarah have kind of done the deed, copulated or whatever, and performed coitus, as some would say.
Did they? Did they?
The boys, they did. They did. The boys are kind of coming in, flying in, and they're like cackling.
Yeah.
But like it's like it gives me the same kind of energy of when Simba is like, I laugh in the face of danger.
Yeah. And
you hear the background kind of cackle of the hyenas come through. It's frightening. It's so good. I think I'm gonna throw that scene of the surf Nazis getting ripped apart up onto the Insta this week.
Yeah. That's great. No, I
so
really
good.
do. I love it. I think that's arguably, I mean, apart from you missed sucker, like apart from that, like that whole beach scene is just iconic. I mean, it's on the back, like you said, it's on the back of your VHS.
Everybody has a fucking. Sorry, go ahead.
It's like you said, like it's so iconic that it's on the back of your VHS cover tape, so it's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. And that does it's like a fashion shot as well, where we see you see their kind of silhouette, almost in a kind of Clockwork Orange style as well, where we can kind of see like the shadows come up like in the smoke first, and then they like, yeah, exactly, like, and pose. Like we get to like see all their outfits and shit like that, you know.
Yeah. I really love. I gotta love it. It's quintessential 80s, and it's blood, gore, guts, and everything in between, really. So
Glam, yeah.
the glam rock period. I love it.
So we're kind of like into the third act now, where like everybody who needs to be made aware of vampires is now aware of vampires, you know. So this is kind of when we get into like, okay, what's our fucking game plan now that we have Star and Laddie? Also, like, can we just very, very quickly speak about Laddie? I don't get what the crack is, because Laddie is not Star's child. He is a missing boy that they've kind of like taken on and also made into a half vampire, which is like, I don't know, kind of odd.
Yeah, I never really understood much about like why, because it like Laddie doesn't actually contribute anything to the plot, so it's literally quite literally a useless character in the film. But I do kind of understand why they would have put something like that person in there, because number one, it is the Lost Boys, and I'm guessing the director kind of wanted to make sure that there was an actual little boy in there somewhere. But also, I love the jacket
from the original script.
I love the jacket that he wears. That like military
jacket. The little double-breasted Civil War.
It's so good. I love that jacket. I want that jacket.
There's actually a thing, again, kind of in the comic books and in the second movie, Laddie is, like, still alive. He's not actually, like, in the second movie, but there's, like, mention of him and stuff. I think Laddie goes on to, like, just become, like, a normal human or whatever like that. Let us know if you actually want us to review the 2 sequels that came out after this. The ideas are good. Execution just isn't. There's kind of a cool concept though. Like a slight spoiler alert. They're kind of fun. Spoiler alert for the second movie. It's called The Tribe, right? The second movie, the group, the quote unquote Lost Boys that are in that movie, the person that starts it all off is one of the surf Nazis from this movie that survives. And he like crawls into the ocean, and his first kill, they look slightly different in the second movie, and the reason is like their first kill, he fed off like a shark, so they have like kind of like a different look. And actually in the start of that movie they kill Tom Savini. Tom Savini is also in that movie as a vampire, like an older kind of like old school vampire, and they have like a fight and they like rip Tom Savini apart, which kind of sucks, but whatever. So now we get into game plan. We got the Frog Brothers and Sam kind of running around town. They run into like the church and like they fill up their like flasks and everything like with holy water and stuff like that. Enough to fill up an entire bath of holy water, which is fucking crazy. And they buy the biggest sack of garlic I've ever seen in my whole fucking life. When Sam is making garlic in that water, he has like a huge fucking sack of garlic.
I think this whole scene is on a level of extraness that is hitherto unheard of. The extraness of the garlic, the extraness of the holy water, the extraness of the soundtrack while doing the holy water. Yeah. Level of extra. It's very much that preparation scene from, like, I hate to compare the two films, but it's very much the Home Alone preparation scene. It's very that.
I guess, yeah. Well, it is. It's like the same kind of vibe. Like, yeah, they take Star and Laddie out of the caves right after Michael goes in and like nails the fuck out of Star. But the boys kind of like arrive. They arrive at the cave, like the kind of hotel in the cave, and they're like, okay, we're gonna kill a vampire, whatever. And then they decide to kill Marco, the smallest one, rather than the one that is very clearly the leader.
Imposing, yes.
And that effect of them hanging upside down with the bat feet, the like human feet that are like morphed up long with like the disposable
big
thumb. Toe.
Yeah.
That's like a thumb. Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. When I seen this shot, or specifically like the whole kind of when they stab Marco through the chest, and like this whole kind of like gooey blood thing like spurts out at the Frog Brothers.
But it's brown.
Yes, I was just about to say it's brown, and also there's glitter in it. Like, I mean, if you wanted a gay reference, just fuck some glitter at them. Puff, glitter in your face. Yeah, like we used to do that shit when we were super young. We'd go into trains and we'd have a bag full of glitter and we'd just fucking into the glitter bomb and run away. Yeah, that's how gay it is.
Just assaulting people. But no, I love this scene because like it's so childish, and again, that's kind of like what makes me think that the Frog Brothers and Sam are actually younger than we think, because it's such a childish approach to think like they're gonna go in here and find like 4 coffins just like sitting in the middle of a room.
Yes,
and that like you can tell, well, like they do get all their information from comic books and old movies, because like you can tell that they're expecting to go in and it'd be like an old Dracula movie where you can stand over Dracula's coffin while it's open and have a full conversation about how you're going to kill him, and he doesn't wake up because it's daytime. And they go in and they're just chatting and screaming and banging around and all this kind of shit. They go in and they kill Marco, and they don't expect the others to wake up, and they just all do.
Yeah.
And we get like dead to dead meat. We get that like the most 80s line. You're dead meat!
Yeah.
It's so 80s, for real.
Yeah.
And then there's like a chase scene, which is like kind of tense, because like David grabs Sam. Sam is like the last one to crawl out or whatever like that. And there's like that little like kind of tug of war where they like eventually get him to like put his hand in the sun.
Yeah.
And his hand just like bursts into flames. It's so good.
And
I like that they don't fuck around with the mythology too much in this movie. These are very much so classic vampires, just made vicious.
Yeah. I really love the fact that we still get that lingering shot of David, and you get that single tear and he just says tonight or something. I think he says tonight, you know, and like
it's actually completely like overdubbed in though, because it zooms into his face and he's like and he like does a little smile, and then it's just like he doesn't actually say anything in this scene. It's completely dubbed over, but it's good. It basically means like game fucking on. Like we're about to fuck you up. I love it.
I really think like they did really good work on creating a threatening and imposing character in David and the other vampires, and like just how scary they kind of eventually do become, like, because they're not the campy vampire. Now I know we don't use the word campy as a bad word on our podcast at all, but up until that point, like you were saying earlier, is they just weren't frightening, they weren't scary anymore. And this, like, especially like after this scene when he does say tonight, you do get the foreboding sense, like, oh shit, you know, like you said, like game on. Like it's that very much that moment, like, this is it. Like, you know, it's do or literally
like you don't expect all the good guys to make it out at the end.
Yeah. Which I mean they do, but you know, you had no idea.
But it's like they give you like, and that's the thing. It's like it's not even usual in a movie where we have more than one main vampire, and in this movie there's 4 that we know of to this point. And like I think throwing that scene on the beach in really was a good way to just be like, oh shit, okay, these people are like not fucking around. Like they're gonna do more than just drink your blood. They are literally gonna rip you apart.
They don't
maybe
care
not even
to turn you. They
exactly
just
like they're just gonna kill
you
just to kill you.
Yeah. It's very that, and I love it.
So this is where you get the montage of like everything being collected, all that kind of stuff, and I don't know, I find this so funny. Like, I think it's hilarious. They like burst into the back of the baptism, and they're just like
solidarity.
Everybody kind of turns around, like the record scratches. You know, it's very like skirt. Everybody's like,
what the fuck?
Slowly turning around, and it's just all these dudes like filling up like water guns and like they're like water bottles, all that kind of shit with fucking holy water. It's great. Have you ever drank holy water?
No, it's gross.
How would you know that?
It burns my insides. It's gross.
Grow up, old lady. But I mean, like, you know the little bottles that, like, your grandmother or whatever would, like, have in her house?
Yeah.
Like, it's like a bottle shaped like Holy Mary or whatever like that. You never drank that?
No, why would I fucking do that? It's weird.
Body of Christ, I guess. It's good, though. Like, if I was blindfolded and somebody gave me tap water and holy water, I'd be able to identify the holy water.
Yeah, because the holy water would be fucking stale. As fuck.
Stale.
Yeah.
Stale.
It's not fresh water.
Stale.
I'm sorry, did I stutter?
Stale. You said it like that, yeah. Okay, whatever. Holy water is delicious.
Did I stutter, bitch?
Yeah, you did. Oh.
Lee hates stuttering people, confirmed.
Yeah, confirmed. Yeah, I don't want to hear you say something 3 times. Like, just spit it out. Holy fuck.
Oh my god.
I also hate diabetic people as well.
Wow.
And
Wow.
just, like, figure it out. Sugar isn't for everybody, I guess.
So fucking rude.
Also, fuck colorblind people. While we're at it, fuck you.
I have no words.
If you're colorblind, you can't see the pride flag. You don't even know what it is.
Wow, I have no words. I have nothing. I have no words. Wow.
Great. So it cuts to night, right? And this is like, it's about to go down. And everybody's kind of like gathered up in the house. The Frog Brothers have painted like camo on their face, like for what? Like, I love that, like, you can tell that the like direction they got in this from Joel Schumacher was like, you ever seen Rambo? Do that. You know?
Yeah.
Do like what you think like a tough guy like thing would be. Also, side note, Corey Feldman got banned off the set briefly for trying cocaine for his first time on this movie set.
Wow. Okay. That's news.
Yeah.
Wow. Quick falling fact.
Oh yeah, like a whole bunch of shit they've done on this set. So they like realized that they like left Nanook outside, and like, to be honest, I don't blame them. I would do the same. I would run out and get my dogs if I knew my dogs were left outside and there were things like running towards me. Like, dogs are part of the team. They're not just,
they're the family
or whatever that you like leave outside. They're part of the family.
We as gay people, we get to choose. You know what? We get to choose our family, okay? And the dog is part of the family, okay?
You did stutter that time, though. And you did a great impression of that guy from Deliverance. You went, we. Oh my god, could Deliverance have been also counted as a queer movie?
Next week on The Slab, we have a topic.
45 minutes of Lee squealing like a pig.
Oh my god. Okay.
Oh god, Burt Reynolds. So it's going down, and this is kind of like I don't want to say like phantasmagoria kind of part, but this is like where they like spent budget. This is where all the blood went to.
Yes.
So the boys like break into the house like forcefully. Like Dwayne comes in through the
chimney.
To the chimney, and like the rest of the guys just like break the fuck in. And like Marco was actually supposed to be in this scene in the original script. He wasn't supposed to have been part of the boys until this scene. He was supposed to be like the newest recruit.
Yeah.
So there was only supposed to be 3 boys up until this point in the movie. And this is where we also get to see Lottie as a little vampire, and I think this is great. I think he's really creepy.
Yeah, it's scary. It's genuinely creepy.
It's the attack of Eddie Munster. It's so good.
I love that. I also love the amount of Munster references that you get in this film. Like, it's absolutely crazy.
Oh yeah, we get a Munster's poster in the cave.
Yeah, there's
Munster's
so
go
many
home.
little Easter eggs that you find throughout this film, like with different references to like loads of, yeah, it's just really good. And this little kid is no exception to that rule. He just absolutely kills it, and he is scary. Like when he's like doing that whole kind of backing up into the corner like a cornered like predator. Like he's just like fucking yeah. Like all the hair is standing up, and yeah, it's just fucking it's really, he's creepy as fuck.
It like also gives me Michael Myers vibes where when fucking Star comes out and she's like, he's just a little boy, you stay away from him, you just stay away from him, and he's like behind her and he's like he's like reaching from behind her like Michael Myers or Ghostface kind of like with the like the arm up against the door kind of thing. It gave him that kind of energy. Also there's a wind machine under the bed because when he comes up through the bed
there's a fan.
There's like 4 fans under the bed. Everything is just getting blown up. It's so good.
Yeah.
So this is where we get what's his name again? This is where we get Paul.
Paul
come in and he's like, "You killed Marco," and they're like, "Yeah, you're next." And I love that every time somebody has fangs in, they have a little bit of a list.
Yeah.
Because they're like, "You're next," and he's like, "No, you're next." You know. And they like look down to the bath or whatever like that. And he's like, "Garlic don't work, boys." And they're like, "What about holy water?" And then they like throw the holy water up into his face. Yeah. And then just kick it. No, they don't kick his ass. Nanook comes in and fucks him up.
Go Nanook! Yes! Get that bitch!
And he just gets thrown into thing. And I loved this part as a kid. Yeah. Because like he just gets broken down. And I think he gets the most vampire makeup out of anybody in the movie. Yeah. Because he's like in the water and then he comes up and he's all melted and shit. And then he goes down again. And we see like I think kind of the campiest moment in the movie where the vampire skeleton comes up out of the bath and is like, ah! But we get like a skeleton with like the 2 like fangs, whatever. Yeah. But during this scene, the plumbing is just getting filled with vampire guts. Because we're told no 2 vampires go out the same way. Some implode, some explode. And in this movie, that is true. It's not true in the sequels. But
some
everybody
go loudly,
in this movie dies
some go quietly, but all will try to take you with them. Love that.
Build a man on fire and he'll be warm for a day. If you set a man on fire, he'll be warm for the rest of his life.
Oh my god. Where did that come from? What's that from?
Oh, the second movie. Sorry.
Oh, right. Reference I did not get.
Give a man a cow, he'll be hungry, or he'll be fed for 1 day. Sow a man to 5 cows, he'll be sowed to cows. I don't know. Whatever.
I thought you were going to do a Midsummer reference there. And then we get, of course, the stereo scene, because this is just... Actually, you know what? No. We get the huge, like, explosion of all the plumbing, and even, like, the toilet is, like, breaking apart because of the amount of blood. This is where the budget was spent, bitch. This is where everything goes to shit. And I love that shot. I love that shot of both Michael and Sam just trying to go up the stairs, and they're looking in like the kitchen like door windows, and all it's just blood splattering at the doors. I love it. I think it's so good.
But once again, it's kind of not blood. It's brown.
Yeah.
It's not red. And I would have almost liked for it to have been like straight up like dark. It should have almost even been like black, like internal blood. Yeah. But whatever, like it, like nothing in this movie like ruins it for me at all. Like I can't say enough about how much I love this movie. But then we get then we get Paul coming in, and like again, I always just thought that he was Marco. Like,
because Paul was not Marco. That dies in the tub.
No, Marco is.
Marco's the young one.
Marco's the young one. This is where we get Dwayne, the black-haired vampire. He comes in, and I think his intro in this scene is so fucking cool. The way he like he breaks in and then he like grabs onto the beams and then like kicks Sam like across the room.
Yeah.
But just the way that he's like shot and the way his hair is, he looks like I would always peg him for like the leader because I think he's like the most interesting looking one. He's got like the best hair. He's the most beautiful.
That unit. Girl.
It's gorgeous. And that's his hair. And that's his hair. That's fully his hair.
Wow.
I was watching the 90s version of Body Snatchers the other day, and that actor, Billy Worth, is in it. And like the whole time I was like, where the fuck do I know him from? Because he's got like a really, really distinct face. He's like really gorgeous. But in that movie, he has like really, really short hair. And like I was like looking up other pictures of him, and his hair was like so long. It's so gorgeous and so lovely. Billy Worth, break my nose. So he comes in and they have like this whole kind of like shoots him with a little piece of like holy water or whatever like that, and there's like a little bit of a scuffle, but then he like goes to jump at him. He goes to jump at Sam, and Sam like shoots this bow or like this arrow from a bow and arrow, and he just kind of collapses to the floor. But then we get like the best line when he stands up. He's like, "You miss, sucker," again with like a slight lisp, and even the close up of and like this scream. I love how like it. I can't even explain what the scream is like. It's like super high pitched and kind of kind of animalistic. It's great. It's like a yelp, you know. And he just gets like skewered through and like stuck to the radio, and he's just getting electrocuted to bits, and he blows the fuck up. He just gets blown to pieces. And we get a death by stereo. Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
The punnage in this movie. Love it. Beautiful.
I have such fond memories of this movie. Like, again, like I watched this movie like just a billion times as a kid, but I think it was for the 25th anniversary. I went to go see this in Dundrum with my mom. And it was so special because like again it's like me and my mom's like kind of like favorite movie, and then getting to see this again in Jesus Christ, was it 2019?
It was 2019, yeah, for sure. It was October, yeah.
Getting to see this was like in the cinema, it was just so good. It was so good. We got to smoke during that. That screening. That was my whole thing because like we went to go see it and it was an outdoor screening. It was so good. And it was good because I was able to wear that huge fucking like outfit and smoke outdoors. It was fucking lit.
That's just, it was cool. That I have such fond memories of that time, and like, and being able to see that on the big screen. I mean, I obviously knowing you'd seen that on the big screen, but like for me that was just so cool because I technically hadn't seen it in 2-3 years, and then seeing that was just so great. I love this movie. Love it. Beautiful.
Yeah, I just remember thinking like, damn, I'm so glad I got tickets to this because I can imagine. Like, excuse me, I just burped there. I can imagine, like, walking through town and hearing The Lost Boys, because it's one of those movies, if I heard, like, a piece of it, like, it might not even be a big piece, it would be something that would, like, I would remember. If I was walking through town and I heard The Lost Boys playing, I would be so pissed if I missed it. But, like, no, that was a great night.
Yeah, it was good. And we got stoned afterwards, and that was great.
Yeah. What else would you be doing on a Thursday?
On a Thursday night? Student night. Back when student night was a thing. Remember that?
You gone down to Meeting House? Yeah.
It was great. So
that was great.
Being able to do shit outside. Yeah.
We like had a full little photo shoot and everything afterwards. We were like walking through Temple Bar, like underneath neon and shit like that. I'm like, no, get a photo of me over here.
No, I love that. I thought it was great.
So then it comes to the final conflict.
Finally.
Oh, no, actually not even. Almost the final conflict.
Oh my, yes. There's nothing between. Finally, Star is no longer between Michael and David.
Where is she throughout this whole fucking movie? What is she doing at the end?
The whole time she's in the bedroom.
The whole time.
All right, Mr.
But in my mind,
calm
I'm like,
down.
this shit could have been dead and over if all 5 of the remaining quote-unquote good guys just piled in on top of Dave. This podcast has got me like breaking down the logic of horror movies and being like, what the fuck? Like, why would you do that? But this is also good. But it also, the fight between David and Michael isn't a fight. It's kind of just a very aggressive embrace.
It's a tussle.
Yeah. Grab me. Grab me here.
Grab me over there. Over there. On that wall. Lip wrist. Yes.
And we're seeing Michael now. Jason Patrick had said that he did not want to be in the makeup chair, and that's why he passed on this script like twice. That's why he gets like the bare minimum makeup. They give him just the brow and the contacts.
Yeah.
Like I'm almost not even sure that he has like fangs or anything, but he looks like a cat.
Yeah.
They make him look like a cat at the end of this, and they keep him like in shadow.
Yeah.
But they're like having a fight and this kind of little tussle, and that's kind of all it is. Yeah. They kind of just like are flying in the air and like like just grabbing onto each other, and that's it. There's no like fighting or like stabbing or killing or ripping or nothing. They're just holding on to each other very aggressively.
Aggressively holding on to each other, yes. No, I love the fact that when Michael does get the strength to say, well, your blood's in, but so is mine, and he turns and throws David onto those two like I want to say like
antlers.
Yeah, they are antlers, but it's that deer where it's just two straight horns. Do you know what I mean? Quote unquote.
Oh, they're gazelle. They're gazelle horns.
It. Yes. Like they're very just those straight pointy ones. And that shot where it turns from that beautiful like heavenly white light, which you have Cry Little Sister playing in the background, to that like grungy red steamy black light, and Michael just looks up and he sort of like sighs or exhales, but his eyes, the contacts like refract the red light, and it looks so cool. I was obsessed with that shot when I was younger. I was like, that's my vampire. That's a fucking vampire right there. I loved that. And I was obsessed.
And what I love is like when they have the kind of like smaller camera, like where it's just the when he's dead.
Yeah.
They do that a couple of times in this movie. I love it. But yeah, then they show him looking like really like young and like innocent. He's also clean shaven, like to make him look more like, I don't know, like delicate and kind of like innocent or whatever. But Lucy and Max come home from their date that they finally had, which again made me kind of thinking about that now. I'm like, he got her out of the house because he knew this attack would be happening on this night.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
The man knew. The man knew. He knew what was going on, girl. He knew.
But they come home and he kind of goes in. He goes straight for David. He goes right into the taxidermy room, and kind of looks at him and is like looking at his face or whatever. And you can tell that he's kind of like,
shit.
Hey, fuck. And ooh, shit. What was that fucking TikTok I sent you? Like two best friends, they might fight. Ooh, shit. I've been saying that for like 2 weeks now. Ooh, shit. But
I gotta say, the reveal with Max being the head vampire was pretty weak. I did not find Max threatening. Like, even when they did that, you know, when he laughs, he does the ho 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 ho.
So I Lucy.
Like this kind of deep, like reverberation sound effect that they use on his laugh, and I was like, oh no.
Well, see, like I never got that we were supposed to find Max threatening. That's why he kind of gets this little crew together to kind of like do his bidding, I guess. You know, he's not supposed to be the threatening one. But the makeup on him was weird. Like, I liked it because like I like that they kind of set him aside. I like that he doesn't just look exactly like his kind of stooges, I guess. But he's got like a bigger chin, and they give him like fuller, higher cheeks, and like they like recede his hairline back and everything.
Yeah.
And like the nails and everything. But I love that like he's basically like, no, and he tells on himself. He tells on himself before the like reveal even happens.
Yeah.
And he's like, your boys, and my boys.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, I knew that if I could get Sam and Michael into the fold, you'd come willingly or whatever like that.
Yeah.
And she's gonna do it. She's gonna do it. You know, and this is a movie where I almost would have liked to have seen, like in an alternate universe somewhere, I would have liked to have seen what would that have looked like.
Yeah.
Like if it was a vampire Brady Bunch, where it's just this bunch of
the blood-sucking Brady Bunch.
Well, yeah, like what would it have been like if everybody had like gotten along and the plan had gone through? Like, because Lucy was about to, and the only reason she doesn't is because Grandpa comes home.
Yes.
Yeah.
And right through it also changes. The music of the horn changes into the carousel music, and like it just like makes it like super cool when he crashes through the living room and just skewers Max right into the fireplace and whoosh. I think that's so cool. It's so great.
Oh, it like explodes into fire, and like the whole like fireplace like collapses in and caves in on itself.
Yeah.
But the logic, again, picking apart the logic for horror movies, like doesn't really do horror movies any favors.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, now why did he drive through his own fucking living room?
How did he know that this was going down? Yeah, very that.
And like I think we get like probably one of the best lines in the movie just kind of after all this is
Grandpa,
there's one thing about Seneca, like one thing about Seneca I never could stomach. Oh, the damn vampires. And then in my head I'm like, oh yeah, it's so good. But I love how intentional all the cinematography is in this movie, because they give time for the fridge door to close over, for Lucy, Sam, and Michael to fade to black, and then to have the dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
I love this. It was such a good movie, and the soundtrack really does kind of make it. I gotta say, like the cover that they did for that song, it's just, it really does make it, and it sets the tone for the film. It really does, because you're not meant to take it so seriously, but you're also not meant to take it as hugely lighthearted, because there's nothing really lighthearted about the film, except for maybe some qualms that go on every now and then. But yeah, it really is such a great soundtrack, and that song perfectly fits in. Like, I can't, with People Are Strange, I can't really kind of visualize any other scenario than just dealing with vampires in a sunny locale. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I can think about.
And like, to me, the fact that they got a cover, like kind of a new wave 80s band cover of a classic Doors song. Yeah. I know people are kind of like, what the fuck? But my thing is that I like the idea that they're kind of taking an older kind of classic and like reinventing it and adapting it to the times, a la making vampires like 80s and sexy and cool. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. I got it. Yeah, it's like, but you also said it earlier. You were saying that like we also like grew up with this cover of the song. You know what I mean? Like we obviously know about the Doors much later in my case, but like I would have heard this cover first, and then I would have found out about that later. You know what I mean? So like this to me is, you know, the better version. You know what I mean?
Well, I do like it better. Like the other one is more kind of sullen or whatever, and like it kind of. I don't know. I like the Echo and the Bunnyman version, but I like Echo and the Bunnyman anyway. So whatever. So that was The Lost Boys. But I just like a couple more things I want to say before we wrap up. I mentioned earlier that the planned sequel, The Lost Girls, was literally made for me. So picture this: it's 1990. The Lost Girls, starring Rosanna Arquette and Drew Barrymore.
What?
On motorcycles in leather. They would have been the Lost Girls. Oh, I wanted it so bad.
Oh my god.
How fucking great would that have been? 1990s Drew Barrymore on a fucking motorcycle.
Oh my god.
In leather.
With Miss Arquette, yes.
That would have been the shit. That would have been so good.
Yeah, I would have loved that. I would want that. I can't believe that wasn't even made. That wasn't a thing. I'm so I can't believe that. Wow.
And there have been a couple of times where they've tried to kind of touch this franchise. I know a couple of years ago they were making it into a TV show, and I think they got like so much backlash that they were like, okay, we're sorry, we're not going to do that. Because like I again, this is another movie that's so kind of its time. I think like The Lost Boys is just quintessentially 80s. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to do the sequels, do the sequels. The sequels kind of dive into kind of like a Point Break, kind of like extreme sports kind of a thing, which is an interesting like kind of take. But like I think this is one of those movies that could never really be remade. Just
yeah.
It's as close to perfect as I can possibly think of for a vampire movie, you know?
Agreed. Totally agreed.
So that was The Lost Boys.
Yay. A little lackluster for Pride Month, but okay. Yay.
Yeah, no, like we were kind of like back and forth on like what we should do, and this seemed like this is not out and out queer cinema, but it's very, very coded, which I also think is very important.
Yeah.
To kind of have talked about. There's lots of queer elements in this movie. It was also directed by a gay man, so his kind of influence is kind of everywhere there. I know he wanted everybody in this movie to be attractive and to not become quote unquote unattractive when they kind of monstered out.
Yeah.
There's still an element of beauty to them. And I think it shows. I think you can tell a man who sucks dicks made this movie. And like we said at the start, he also was responsible for fucking Batman and Robin, fucking bat nipples and bat cum drains or whatever. Bat cum fucking, what are they called
cum
again?
gutters, those things, yeah.
Cum gutters, yeah. Bat cum gutters and bat nipples and bat bulge, you know?
The bat bulge. Oh, God.
Batman and Robin wear lip gloss in that movie. They have like Vaseline lips and shit, you know? But we also get like Poison Ivy in those movies. We got like very like, I really like Batman and Robin.
Ivy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so camp. Yeah. I don't know why people had such an issue with that, where I'm like, that's where Batman like started from.
Yeah.
Like, does nobody remember the fucking like Adam West, like 60s, like Eartha Kitt Batman? Like, yeah, weren't complaining then. You know?
Well, speaking of camp, what have you got for me next week, Lee?
AIDS.
That's just the answer for everything. AIDS. Everybody's got AIDS. AIDS.
The Pope got AIDS and so do you. Okay, so next week on The Slab, we have Camp Notes on Horror.
Woo!
A study of all things queer horror, overarching and underarching, all things subtext and text.
Representation matters, and this next episode is definitely going to be heavily based on that. We're going to talk about we're going to talk about the criteria of queer representation and how it panned out, how it works in cinema, and yeah, and like you said, we're going to have a gay old time with it, and I think it's going to be a really, really good episode for sure. Absolutely. And best for Pride Month as well. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about the alphabet mafia in horror. So for the next episode, we are going to bring this out on what day? On Monday the 28th, which is the anniversary of the Stonewall riots and basically the start of the queer civil rights movement. So we thought it only fitting to release it on that day in memoriam and in celebration. Yes, absolutely. That day is brought to us. It's important, it's iconic, it's a moment, and it should be celebrated. So we want to make sure that we do it right and we really kind of bring it out, because the gay liberation movement is exactly what this was all about. It was about freedom to self-express, freedom to love who you were, and to be seen equally in the eyes of the law. And that's exactly what we want to give. So we're going to give it props, and we're going to same day, same time. You know what it is. We love you, monsters and all. Monsters, freaks, weirdos, everything in between and everything not in between. So yeah, you can come even if you're straight too, I guess. I guess. No, for real, I don't hate. I had a straight ruler once. Wow, a straight ruler. that is unmotivating. Wow. We are all inclusive here. All inclusive.
Even my PlayStation is black.